Hi, everyone. Welcome to the course Finish My Book. My name is Edie Summers, and I'm so happy to have you here. There is also a private Facebook group for this that you will find in the course that you can join us. That's where you can get the ongoing support that you need. What I have found as an author is that it does take a lot of discipline and perseverance to either start or finish a book. And that's what the Facebook group is for, is that ongoing support. And of course, also in the course here, I'm going to have several videos and information on also how to kind of cultivate that mindset to start or finish a book, some of the resources that it takes to publish your book. So I'm going to share all of that in this course. Again, I am the author of 4 different pieces of work. My main book is called The Memory of Health, and you are getting that as a PDF version in this course as well. So you can, it's actually chock full of information on how to improve your energy and holistic well-being. So that's kind of a nice added bonus. That book took me 10 years to write, and it really was about plug and chug. I had to really dig down deep to find that motivation to finish it. Even to start it took a lot of courage, I would say, to start it. And then it took a lot of discipline and consistency to finish it. So I also am the author of 2 other books and a screenplay. I have a background in literature and wellness. I have an undergraduate degree in English literature. I'm also a former chief content officer for a health and tech and fitness startup. So I've created a lot of content, not only for in my own business, but also for a few other businesses. I am a content creator as well. And I consider that kind of, we are going to talk a little bit about the marketing of your book, and there's a lot that it takes to market your book, but first let's get your book written. And then we will also dive into some of the marketing. As a content creator, I am a paid content creator as well. I have several social media channels that I've been doing forever. And, to me, writing a book is being a content creator. And then, I do highly recommend, putting yourself out there in the social media channels, as well as usually it's about connecting with some PR or marketing companies or individuals to help you. You have to be very discerning about who you work with, but there's a lot that you can do. And, if you're a writer or content creator, maybe you're a coach or a business owner, whatever your reasons are for writing a book, maybe you want to have it help you open doors. I've definitely had my book help open some doors. In terms of working with yet another startup. And also, I'm always working on getting those speaking engagements. There's a lot to cover, but first, like I said, let's get your book finished. So today I want to talk about, in this video, kind of how to cultivate that mindset and intention to either start or finish a book. Like I said, it does take a lot of discipline, but first let's talk about courage. It is really first about finding the courage to share your voice. And you may notice this wherever you are in the writing process. Either maybe you haven't started at all, or maybe you're in the process of writing a book. I certainly ran into a place and time in the course of writing my book where I questioned, like, oh, how much should I disclose in this book? And I've personally found, both in studying literature, studying poetry, and in writing a book and books, that when you can find that vulnerable space and really share who you are or share your point of view, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, it really does benefit the reader. And that's part of courage. And then there's also the courage to start a book. There's also courage in finishing a book too, because once your book is finished, then you have to have the courage to market your book, which again is a whole other topic. But building up that courage, finding your voice, and then giving your voice a platform in terms of a book, and maybe down the road in terms of other content that you create around your book, doing interviews and things like that, is really, really important. So I would say, it's, and this can be what our Facebook group can be for, is kind of talking about finding that courage. Usually what I have found that works is, Personally, what got me started on writing a book was I had a friend at the time say to me, "I don't know why you don't write a book." And honestly, for me, that was the catalyst. Now, as an English major and as a writer, I've been a writer my whole life in terms of writing poetry and short stories. Um, yes, had I thought about writing a book? Maybe a little bit here and there. And again, my background is also in wellness. So when she was talking about me writing a book, she was talking about something in the holistic wellness space. But for some reason, when she said that to me, it was almost like a dare, or it was just giving me permission to write a book. So I want to give you permission to write a book in case that's what you need in terms of creating that courage. It might be for someone else here in the course and in our group, you might need something else that gives you the courage. But I would say finding the courage to start or write a book is very important. And then the other flip side of that is setting the intention to finish it, no matter how long it takes. Right? Because again, it took me 10 years to write my major book that you're seeing here on the screen, The Memory of Health. Now that book is very big. It's like about 450 pages roughly. It has a lot of research in it. And so it took a long time. It took me 9 years to write and then 1 year to format and edit. Now I did have help with the formatting and editing. And again, that's another conversation we can have about, should you get a professional to help you? And that can be really exciting too when you get to that stage, if it's formatting and editing and all that, and finding a book designer. Those are really fun stages to be in, even though formatting and editing can be very laborious too and take a while. Still, that means you're almost done. But setting the intention is really important. Now, I also talk about setting the intention in terms of improving health and wellness. And I talk about that in my book, The Memory of Health. But setting an intention works across the board. And you're really programming your subconscious mind and telling yourself that, yes, I can do this. And it's like an agreement with yourself that you're setting. So I would encourage you today to first find whatever motivates you to find the courage to write or continue on with your book, and then also set an intention to finish it. So again, that can be different. It's going to look different for everyone in terms of what that setting that intention is going to look like. For me, I just made it in my mind. I can just without even saying anything or writing it down, I can set an intention and I know that that's an agreement I've made with myself. But for you, it might be different. You may want to write it down. You might want to tell someone. And again, that's what our group will be really good for in terms of that support. So that's what I encourage you to do today. And then in the group, if you're comfortable, you can share how you found the courage to start or write your book, or sharing your intention to finish it. And also what helps you find that courage and set that intention. So if you want to share that in our private Facebook group, feel free to go ahead and do that. And then, so that's kind of your assignment for this video in this section. And also, honestly, it's really the most important part. Now, going along with intention, I'll go a little bit deeper into that, which is discipline. It takes a lot of discipline to write a book. Writing, is actually a very left-brained activity. And I think sometimes people don't realize how structured it is and how difficult it can be to put all of your thoughts or research onto paper and to also organize. My best tip that way is, yes, you do need the discipline to keep going, but we're also going to be here for you. So I actually worked with a coach very briefly when I was writing my book after I had been working on it for several years. And I had organized it and written and organized and written and rewritten and reorganized. And, I had a really good outline of my book. And I'm going to share after this topic how that can work, how you can sometimes you have to just dive in and then you can reorganize as you go in terms of chapters, topics, going deeper into content. But I had kind of reached the stage where I had been working on it for, I forget how many years, but it was several years. And it was quite big at that point, but I was feeling overwhelmed by kind of the stage that my book was at, where it wasn't complete because it had to be reorganized yet again in terms of the content to make sure everything made sense and that was all linked together. Now, again, my book is research based and I cover a lot of topics in my book that has to do with energy and well-being. So, even with it being organized, there were some, I can't have everything under, like, let's say one paragraph or one page that has to do with my specific topic that I'm talking about in a book, like a wellness book. However, you will find that you can kind of dive in and then organize and reorganize as you go. But my book was quite big after several years, and I had, been reworking it and retooling it many, many times. But I definitely felt myself hitting a wall because I was feeling daunted at that point because my book is quite big and it was quite big at that point. And it took so much discipline to kind of get over that hump of getting it into the final stages of being organized, and then having to tackle the references and alphabetizing those. And there was so much that I had to do to make it professional. And that's when I hired a coach, and I only worked with her for, I forget how long it was now, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, but she was essentially my accountability coach. And she also worked with me on mindset a little bit. But for me, it was the accountability that really helped. It was telling her, hey, I've done this and this and this on my book today, or this is my intention for my book this week. And then we would talk about it the next time we met, and that's what kept me accountable. Now, I'm pretty disciplined as it is, and it does take a lot of discipline to write a book, but it was invaluable to have her just there for accountability. And that's what got me over the hump of having this tangle and jumble of a book that was, again, in my situation, it was nonfiction and full of references, research, links, topics that were all often interconnected. And I even have images and graphics in my book and quotes, and there's a lot of moving parts in my book. Now, your book might be different, but regardless, it will have to kind of have that professional feel to it. It depends. Like you might be someone who's writing a book maybe for family members, or just for as a keepsake for yourself and, for your family. But nonetheless, we all want to do a great job. And so that was the only time I got help with that in my book. And that I found it really helpful. So I'm hoping it helps you. Obviously, if you're here in this course, then you are looking for that support in some capacity. So, and yeah, I also want to say, and I kind of already addressed this a little bit, but you will find that the deeper you go into your book, it gets very exciting, but there is kind of a point that you reach where the more you write your book, the more material you're going to have in your book, and then you have to be able to organize it. And it does take a lot of discipline and effort and just keep showing up. And again, the writing process itself is, I think, harder than people give credit to authors for. It's not easy to put your thoughts and research and words into the written form. It really isn't. It takes a lot of effort and discipline to even form those sentences and then retool the sentences, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it. And what I recommend you do is, once you've found the courage to start or continue and you set your intention, then I would say, the third part is, and we'll dive deeper into this in the next video, is kind of start where you are. So if you're just starting out with your book, sometimes people can get stuck when they don't know where to start with it. So maybe you found the courage and set your intention, and you have started a book, or you know that you can do it, but you're not sure what chapter to start with. Do I start at the beginning, or what topic do I start with, or do I start with an outline, or should I just jump in? And I would say jump in. Now, some people need an outline. So if you work that way, that's great. You will find, I think, that your book becomes the outline over time. And then again, you're going to be reorganizing it over time. But if it helps you to create an outline, that's great. But that could also potentially be a way to procrastinate. So You can decide what works for you, but if nothing else, I encourage you to jump in and just start writing, and you can organize it later. There's a lot to be said for stream of consciousness when you're starting out with a book. Write what comes to mind and then organize later. So let's dive into that topic a little bit more in the next section. How you can get the ball rolling once you know for sure that you are going to write and finish your book. Thanks, and I'll see you on the next one, and see you in the group. Bye.